Hey folks, Colin here from Sumthins Recording, and today I'm going to be taking you back to 1963, and we're going to be exploring the simple drum sounds of the Beatles on their first record, Please Please Me. So we have been slowly making our way through recording each track on the Please Please Me record, and we started exploring the drum sounds a little bit, okay? So we are recording drums the way we usually record drums, but I started experimenting with setting the drums up like the Beatles did in 1963, okay? So I'm going to show you how we did that today. I'm going to show you our finished recorded drum sound, the way we usually record drums here at Sumthins Recording, and then we're going to trim it down to this minimalistic setup, and I'm going to show you the Beatles drum recording from 1963, okay? So let's get started here. Okay, so as you can see, we have our usual drum mic set up here. We got a kick in, a kick out, snare top, snare bottom. We got our 4 toms, but there's no toms on this track, so they're all pulled down. We've got our stereo overheads, and we've got our room mic, and then we've got our stereo room running here, okay? So I'm going to show you what our finished drum recording sounds like as it is, okay? So here is the drum recording. Okay, so that's just a loop of the bridge in the second song off the record. It's called Misery. All right, these are unmixed drums. These are the raw recorded files, okay? Now, I'm going to show you, we're going to trim this down to only 2 tracks, all right? So when the Beatles were recording this record in 1963, they only used 2 microphones. They used an overhead and a kick drum. Now, the overhead was a Coles 4038, and it was set at about chin level for Ringo over the drum kit. And the kick drum mic was set at about 1 o'clock on the kick drum, and I believe it was an AKG D20, okay? So we're going to move down to just the kick in and the overheads here, okay? So we're going to disable all of those, and we're going to get rid of our room here as well, okay? So we've got just our kick in and our overheads at the moment. All right, we're going to keep the kick level because that's what our kick is feeding into, and we can get rid of our tom level here as well. The room mic here, the stereo room, we're going to pull down, okay? So we're going to start with just our overheads, and we're going to do a very minimalistic drum mix, okay? We're going to try and get the best we can out of every mic. Now, when the Beatles were tracking this in 1963, they only used 1 mic for an overhead, so we're going to take the stereo room mic, and we are going to make it mono. So we're going to grab our binaural pen here, and we will make it mono here, all right? So we're going to get rid of this EQ that's on here, or set it back to default at least, and we will try and get our overhead sound going, okay? So here is our raw overhead sound. Let me pull that up. So you can hear that Coles, that ribbon mic is giving us a lot of low end beef there. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to trim off a little bit of that so it's not so weighty. Right there. There's a little bit of ringing going on there, so let's find that and get rid of that. There it is. Not much there, just 4 dB. So now we're going to pull our kick in here. We're not using a D20. I don't have a D20, but we're using an AKG D112. Kind of the same thing, okay? So let's pull that in. So that's sounding about good here. If you look at our meter over here that the drums are running to, the kick and the snare are hitting around the same level, okay? Now the first thing I'm going to do with that is I'm going to throw a little bit of bus compression on, because we only have 2 mics. I'm going to kind of treat them like they're one instrument. So and their kick and snare are both moving the meter about the same level. That's what we want to see. Makeup gain here. So we're doing about 2 dB compression, 2 dB makeup gain. So now we'll add EQ. So again, now I'll high pass again. We may not need to, we'll leave it. We will add a little bit of this guy though. A little bit of that 80. That's that area I want to get rid of. A little bit of weight for the snare. Right there. We're going to narrow both these up a little bit. So these 2 moves right here are to get our fundamental frequencies for our kick and our snare, okay? So those have some weight to them. Now we're going to try and find some crispiness for both of them. I like that at 2.5. A little bit of that's not bad. I like the 5. And then we're going to hit this equalizer here, and we'll grab a little bit of 7. So something to be aware of here when boosting these higher frequencies is we don't have an individual control for our hi-hat and our cymbal mics, okay? So when we're boosting this high end to get some high end in our kick and snare, we are also adding it on our hi-hat and stuff, okay? So let's take a listen here and make sure it's not too aggressive. Not bad. What we're going to do as a fail-safe here is we're going to add a de-esser. From about, we'll bring it down a little bit to maybe 1.5 and up, okay? We don't want it to go too crazy. We just kind of want to make sure, like there at the end. We're just catching a little bit when that hi-hat goes up. Okay, now it's all a little bit quiet for me, so instead of using that gain knob there, we're going to add a gain tool. We're going to add, not 2, we're going to add 3 dB to it. A little bit more for the snare. So that's kind of where I want my kick and snare sitting, right? A little bit above 12. So that is our finished drum sound there with just a kick and not a snare mic, just a kick and an overhead mic. This is the setup the Beatles had in 1963, a single overhead mic and a single kick mic. And you can see here, just using 2 mics, we can get a good, solid drum sound, okay? It's not about how many mics you have. It's not about how expensive the mics are. With 2 mics set up right on the kit, you can get a good drum sound, okay? So now we'll do a before and after on these, okay? So we will do just this processing here on our drum bus, okay? So we'll put our loop on, go back to the beginning here, and we'll do a before, and then I'll click all these plugins on, and you can hear what it sounds like after, okay? All right, well, I'll nuke this gain plugin now for the moment, okay? So here's before. This isn't bad. This sounds good for a raw drum recording, okay? If these were just your recordings, this sounds perfect, right? The main thing you want to hit first is getting your level right, okay? Get your overhead set, get your high pass in place, and then ease that kick mic in so it's sitting even with your snare, okay? Here's our compressor. That's trying to hold our kick and snare at the same level. Here's our EQ. A little bit of beef, a little bit of crispiness. There's our multi-band to control our high end. Okay. So before. After. Alright, so there is our finished 1963 Beatles drum sound using just 2 microphones. An overhead, our Coles 4038, and a kick drum microphone. They were using an AKG D20, we are using an AKG D112. Alright, now just for fun, we'll put that gain plugin back on, and we'll add our other raw recordings here, and we'll see how we're sounding. Okay, so here's our drums. Throw our bass in. Okay, bass is sounding good. We'll get our acoustic and electric in there. So you can hear even with just the instruments in, those 2 mics are holding up very well. It sounds very solid. We got our kick and snare sitting just right using just 2 mics. Okay, we'll throw our vocals in just for fun and we'll hear how those are sounding.
I remember all the little things we've done. Can't she see
that is it for today. I just wanted to have a quick fun video here and show you how you can get a great sounding drum mix using just 2 mics, all right? Going back to the Beatles, one of the greatest rock bands of all time. They knew what they were doing. George Martin knew what he was doing. 2 mics, solid drum sound. I will see you guys next time.